What's up, everybody? My name is Joe Brown. This is Heresy Financial, and we have the Economic Ninja on with us today. How are you doing?
I'm awesome, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Well, I'm excited to have you on because you've been talking about something that pretty much nobody is talking about, and it is the fact that there's a new rule in place, came in completely under the radar, where they are tracking the total amount of transactions for payment apps so that they can tax you on it, and ultimately might be even a power grab. So I want to hear from you what's going on there and why nobody's talking about it, what the details are.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. I'm so glad you're doing this. And I know that you've already covered this prior, but now it's in effect. And it's so important to share these videos and get them out because people are going to get really shocked. One thing that I'm finding is that people are confusing this rule, this total $600 that comes through a third-party payment app, that's going to be tracked, and eventually a 1099K is going to come your way. They're confusing this with something that was put in legislation and it didn't pass, and that was the $600, where if you move $600 or more in a banking cycle, like once a month usually, the IRS was going to get a report from the bank. Okay, so that did not pass, but this did. And it's very important because there's so many people out there side hustling, just trying to make it because of inflation. And they're about to get and literally it might have already happened. It's the 5th of January. We're filming this. Somebody might have taken $600 or more from someone else, in the form of goods and services, depending on how they had it on their app, and they're going to get a 1099.
Okay, so just to be clear, what I talked about was what you were saying didn't pass. I was saying, hey, if you've got $600 or more in aggregate transactions, the IRS is going to get a report of all the transactions, a big data collection scheme. That didn't pass. What this is, if you got PayPal, you've got Cash App, you've got Zelle, and you have an aggregate of $600, suddenly they're saying, hey, we are going to start tracking that because you're running a small business and you're doing tax evasion, and we want to make sure that you're paying taxes on that. Is that right?
Exactly. This literally is a trap. And I can't make that more clear, because what is happening right now, and this doesn't matter because people ask, well, what about Venmo? What about PayPal? What about Zelle? And they start giving all these, it's every third-party company. They're called TPSOs, I believe is the acronym, which makes any company that takes money from one party, takes a fee for this, and then puts the rest in your pocket. Those companies qualify. So we're talking eBay, we're talking everyone. And it is for one specific reason: to track your purchases and then possibly, hopefully, retain tax revenue from it. Now, there's something really important that people need to know. As of right now, the law states that these companies only have to issue a 1099 to both the IRS and the individual taking the money if, first off, it's over $600 in the entire year. Mm-hmm. But that $600 came in the form of the drop-down menu where it says goods or services. Okay, there's other selections, so people can still decide what they want to do. Okay, but I have a feeling many people don't really pay attention, they don't care, and it's going to slide by.
Yeah. So basically, so you're saying that, all right, if somebody is literally just like, hey, I'm the one that always pays when we go out to dinner, and we always Cash App each other the difference for the bill afterwards. So it's going to show up at the end of the year. I've got thousands of dollars of income. That's not income. Everybody's just splitting the bill. That doesn't count as long as you categorize it correctly.
True, but this is where it gets really gnarly. See, before this year, the way this rule worked was that you could do as many transactions as you wanted, well, with a little bit of a curtailment. It was up to 200 transactions to the same person or entity, right? Before you got a 1099 issued. But in those 200 transactions, it would have to equal $20,000 or more, right? And so that was massive. Now to say 600 total for the entire year, absolute, to be honest with you, it's like handcuffing you, right? Now, I get a lot of questions, like people say, yeah, but we pay for dinner and we pay for rent. Here's the problem. Depending on how that is categorized, yes, you will get a 1099K if it's under goods or services. Now, a lot of people are going to immediately go, fine, cool. Everything's gifts, everything's donations. Here's the problem with that. I believe that, again, going further into the future, that may be another trap because the IRS is allowed, and again, not tax advice, not a tax professional, but I do know the IRS can go back in time and audit you. So let's say this year you figure you're going to skirt it. I want you to know the truth and be armed with the truth. If you skirt it and there's a way of auditing you in the future, they might be able to figure that out. So I want to make sure people know that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. A good example of this is I've got kids, as you know. My son is 5 years old, and my daughter is 4. And we are trying to teach them about money and business and entrepreneurship. And so we do garage sale flipping with them. And a lot of times, we get cash. A lot of times we get, these electronic payments. And what we do, because ultimately it's not a lot of money, we still put it through our business because it's taxable income. It's over the limit. And to be perfectly frank, there are so many easy ways to not pay taxes that are legal that there's no need to try and cheat and get around the system and try and hide things. The book I always recommend is Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright, that the government has given us so many ways to get tax deductions and credits and get around it, that I'd rather be completely above board and then do all the right things and still not have to pay taxes than try and hide something, get audited later, get penalized. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought up Tom. I know Tom, yeah, a great guy, amazing books. And as I'm about to say what I'm about to say, don't hang up, don't turn off the video, because I've got some really good points. The facts are, Joe is absolutely correct. Sometimes the worst things in our lives turn into the best things. And one thing is, garage hustling is amazing. I've done it with my children to teach them the fundamentals of economics and business. But at a certain point, because I've already had tons of people comment on my videos, because they were blowing up, because so many people are like, oh my gosh, I made $8,000 garage sale flipping on eBay. And I'm like, you're going to have a hard time, even if it's a mistake. If it's an accident, it's too late. 1099K is going out to the IRS, going to you. If you don't, and I want to get to rentals in a second, Joe, if you can remind me, if you don't claim that, or at least try to contest it, it's essentially you going to the government and going, I don't have a business. And it could be just come a nightmare paperwork wise.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So actually,
what about rentals?
I just remembered it. Yeah, the rentals. So another person asked, this is another big trap that people are going to get into, because you're right, Joe. You could actually take that next level, start a business for very little money, fictitious name statement, a business license, and a bank account set aside, and take advantage of amazing everyday things you do in your life. And now they become a tax write-off. Okay. So that's, again, not tax advice. Go read the books. I love Tom Wheelwright's books. I learned a lot from him. Rentals. Someone asked me, they said, well, wait a minute, though, goods and services, that would fall under rents. And I take rents with these payment apps. So would I have to tell them? I said, yes, you're going to have a hard time proving to the government that you took in a bunch of gifts and or charitable events. People are paying you and you don't have a charity. Okay. So that's not going to fly, because I have a feeling that data is still going to make it there. I'm just going to say, I think in full disclosure, the IRS is going to ask these guys, say, we want to know also what they gave in these other things. But that's just me. That's just the conspiracy side. Eventually, I believe it's going to move to that. All right. Full disclosure. And I said, well, yeah, you're going to have to, they're going to generate that 1099. So think about this. If you're accepting your rent's $1,000 a month, but you've been claiming for years that your rent's $800 a month. Well, if the IRS gets a 1099K showing that you took in $12,000 a year, $12,000 for the year, and you put on your taxes, I only took in $10,000. That's going to immediately fire off a red flag. The computers are talking. Mm-hmm. Now, here's one last thing I want to share to give you guys a little bit of hope. Okay, is this going to trigger an audit for everyone? No. Can it? It can. The problem is it could affect you down the road. And right now, honestly, the IRS is tapped with employees, lack of employees. They're just trying to catch up. And they're really going after the big fish. But can this affect you later? It can. So me and Joe have talked about this before. We want to set you guys up for success. And that's why we're meeting in Denver, actually, because we want to start setting up our subscribers for absolute success and watch you blow up and thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best way to sum it up, in my opinion, is give to Caesar what is Caesar's, whose picture is on the money. It belongs to the government. They made it, but they've also given us rules how to get around it above board, how you cannot pay taxes, because ultimately, if you try and hide it, that can really come back and nail you down the road. Because to be honest, you and I are the ones they have the resources to come after. They're not going after the big boys that have the resources to fight the IRS for years and years and years. And so that's part of why they're inching closer. They already have the data. People, I know people, it's there. It's just they've got legal barriers preventing them from using it. So these are little steps that they're taking so that they can wear down those those legal barriers so they can start using the data, start analyzing it, get those red flags, and start coming after. And so it's not worth it to try and hide things, in my opinion, be above board and do things in the right way.
And I gotta say real quick, to give Caesar to Caesar what is his, that's gonna get a ton of hate, I'm sure.
I know.
But let's call a spade a spade. I've started multiple companies. I've owned multiple companies throughout my life because I want to turn my life into a write-off. Obviously, we know real estate is an amazing way to where you can legally not pay any taxes and defer your depreciation off just forever almost, especially with 1031 exchanges. I want a plane. So I went and bought a plane, but I had to build a company. So I needed the plane. It became a legal write-off. I'm going to eventually buy a yacht. It's because I can write it off under a certain company. That's why I have corporate strategies set up, and it's absolutely amazing. And the cool thing is people don't realize, now me driving somewhere is a complete write-off because of the way I live my life and run my businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a perfect place to end here. And we'll be talking more about this in Denver. And so I'm excited for everybody that we're going to meet there, and excited to see you in person again.
Yeah, thanks. Packed house. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be crazy.
And if you are not already, please go and subscribe to the Economic Ninjas channel. He puts out a ton of content packed with value all day long, all week long. You will not regret it. I love his stuff that he puts out. Go subscribe. I've got him linked in the description below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.